This is CBC Here and Now.
How do you feel in this community in Happy Valley-Goose Bay? Do you feel safe?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I worry about the safety of children in the community. I worry about the safety of vulnerable people in the community.
A protest over public safety. These Happy Valley-Goose Bay residents are pushing the province for more support.
I think that's her forte, is to make things look really, really nice.
We'll head to the West Coast to see what this newcomer, a Ukrainian baker, is cooking up.
Evolution in terms of writing and themes.
Celtic rock band Rawlins Cross is marking its 33rd year with the Atlantic Canadian tour wrapping up this weekend in St. John's. Anthony Germain sits down with them. That's a little later. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin tonight in Happy Valley-Goose Bay, where protesters rallied today to put pressure on the province. The town calls it a public safety issue, public drunkenness and criminal acts that are scaring some residents. The protesters want better police protection and more services to help vulnerable people living in the town's trail system. The CBC's Heidi Adder has more.
We cannot let the behavior continue to happen day in and day out. And I think everybody here feels the same way. Yes. So let's hear if you do.
Roughly 80 people gathered at the E.J. Broomfield Arena parking lot at noon, about the same number of people camping out in the woods. The group shared stories of being chased on trails, concerns for themselves and their children, and calls for change. One mother says she grew up exploring the town and not checking in with her parents, but that's all changed.
And I am frightened to death to let my kids go anywhere else except in our view.
Typically I should be worried about my teenage daughter going out and partying and that type of thing. That doesn't even have to cross our mind because she doesn't go out anywhere because she's too scared. What I'm scared of is her getting harassed by intoxicated people or assaulted.
Alison says she wasn't going to speak up until she heard John Hogan's comments in the House of Assembly. This week, the Minister of Justice and Public Safety said the issue is complex, involving Indigenous peoples. He said he has no intention of rounding individuals up and putting them in jail, that a more modern approach needs to be taken, not a colonial one.
This isn't an Indigenous issue or the colonialized way of looking in the lens. This is safety for us all, including those who are in the woods, and we're just trying to get our town back.
Organizers of today's rally say they hope the province hears their concerns and puts more resources into police and into addiction supports.
We're in a very serious public safety crisis, and we need help, and we need their help in terms of putting immediate solutions and strategies in place.
Fraser said the province has been looking long-term, but actions are needed now.
They need more attention, and they need immediate attention, because without those things sort of being resolved, we won't have the foundation we need to put the longer-term solutions in place.
If immediate action isn't taken, Fraser worries the illegal and aggressive incidents will only get worse. The Minister for Justice and Public Safety is expected to visit the town next week. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
A political science professor in the province is calling the Premier's fishing trip controversy a toxic mess. Kelly Bleduc is weighing in on Premier Andrew Furey's vacation to Labrador last year. Furey stayed at a luxury lodge owned by his friend businessman John Risley. Now, Risley is with a company seeking the Liberal government's approval to develop a massive wind-to-hydrogen project on the West Coast. The opposition has been hounding Furey daily about the trip, asking for receipts and details. Bleduc says those are questions the Premier should be answering.
Risley is a Liberal donor. He got special access meeting the Premier at his own resort, and then he had a favourable policy change happen almost immediately afterwards. To me, this isn't rocket surgery. That shouldn't happen. That's a toxic mess. That's something the Liberals promised to clean up 7 years ago, and it's a mess that they're bathing in rather than cleaning up. Something has to be done about the way that donations work in this province.
Lots to unpack in local politics, controversies like that one, recent spending announcements. The full interview with Kelly Bleduc in about 20 minutes. Well, another gloomy report on the state of the Muskrat Falls transmission line. NL Hydro's latest report to the PUB says the system can reliably carry only a third of what it's designed for. The issue, synchronous condensers at the station in Soldiers Pond just outside St. John's. Right now, about 300 megawatts of power can be transmitted before vibrations cause outages. Once that problem is addressed, there's still another major issue, computer software, which so far is allowing testing of 475 megawatts of power. The line was designed to carry 900. Well, get ready because it'll soon start to get darker even earlier. The clocks officially go back at 2 a.m. this Sunday. Meanwhile, the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs says the end of daylight saving time is a good time to check batteries in smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. Smoke alarms are required on every level of a home, in every bedroom, and in the hallway outside a bedroom. Carbon monoxide detectors are recommended for any dwelling with wood, oil, or propane-fueled heat and appliances.
Well, the weather isn't indicative of what typically happens when we do see that fall back. It's going to feel very spring-like this weekend, in fact. And taking a look at the temperatures this morning, definitely a different story. 2 degrees in St. John's, temperatures even up across Labrador in the minus single digits. Happy Valley-Goose Bay at -6. But they climbed quite dramatically this afternoon. 11 degrees in St. John's, 13 in Cape Ray. Similar story pretty much across the province, except along the northeast coast. And 12 degrees in Lab City. That is 15-degree difference from yesterday. And that trend will continue for eastern areas of Labrador, or at least parts of Labrador. 2 degrees right now in Goose Bay, warming to the teens as we get into tomorrow morning. I'll get into the full forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, a friend of Vincent Ward testified at the accused man's trial in Happy Valley-Goose Bay this week. Ward is charged with second-degree murder in the shooting death of Vincent Belanger Dampierre in April of 2018. Heidi Adder is covering the trial.
Vincent Ward seemed aggressive and fearful the day of the shooting. That's according to friend Jacob Beeson. Beeson testified he and Ward were driving together that evening in Labrador City, saying Ward told him people were threatening to kill his children and family because he owed them money. Beeson says he told Ward to go to police, but instead the two drove to Ward's home. According to Beeson, he then drove Ward to Vincent Belanger Dampierre's house and left. Beeson said he was surprised to hear what happened next, that Belanger Dampierre was shot and killed in his Pine Avenue home. But the defense counsel questioned how the jury can believe Beeson's testimony. Lawyer Mark Gruchy says the man was ill from drugs and that his statements have changed and evolved throughout the investigation, including a new statement given to police the day of his testimony, November 3rd. Beeson admitted he did lie to police but says he's trying to right those wrongs now in court. Crown prosecutors are arguing Ward unlawfully shot Belanger Dampierre, while defense counsel say it was a lawful act of self-defense. The second-degree murder trial is expected to resume on Monday and continue for at least another 2 weeks. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
The Canadian Coast Guard ship Terry Fox is getting a $135 million overhaul. The vessel will be dry docked late next year until spring of 2025 for maintenance, which is expected to extend its lifespan. Ontario company Heddle Shipyards will be handling that contract. The Terry Fox is a large icebreaker often dispatched to the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the east coast of Newfoundland. The Coast Guard says other vessels will do its work when the Terry Fox is out of service. To Corner Brook now, where diners may have noticed some changes on the dessert menu at the Glenmill Inn. The hotel's new baker is bringing a slice of Ukraine to the menu. Here and Now's Troy Turner dropped by to learn more.
Olena Horvitz takes pride in the precision of presentation. Each dessert becomes her canvas, icing and sprinkled toppings her paint.
I like to have a recipe and to make to have this base, and then I add a little bit of myself. You have to feel it, and so. Can I describe this as my style? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Horvitz has been working at Corner Brook's Glenmill Inn for about a month. She's from Dnipro, Ukraine's fourth largest city.
I read and heard a lot of good things about Canada, so I was kind of planning to move here one time, to move here once, and then the war happened, so I had little choice but to leave Ukraine.
She knew little about Canada or of her home province, but has been enjoying the journey so far.
The people are very, very open and supportive and polite, so yeah, it's been very good.
A world away from the conflict, Corner Brook has been a breath of fresh air, but she still thinks of home every day.
I'm worried about every person I know constantly. And yeah, yesterday I found out my friend was killed defending Ukraine. Yeah, I couldn't stop crying. Yeah, it is very sad.
The hotel helped her make the journey to Newfoundland and set up her accommodations.
We want her to stick around. She's phenomenal and she's doing great work for us. And she's interested. She has the desire and motivation to try not just the baking. She is, has done cooking in Poland as well, and she's very meticulous with her presentation. So I think that's her forte, is to make things look really, really nice.
Given the response of customers, we should expect to see more European-inspired baked goods here at the Glenmill Inn. And given this experience with her first Ukrainian employee, Rose says she would open the door to more in the future. Troy Turner, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, what is an aspadilla and why is it kind of a big dilla? Well, fossils from these ancient organisms were first discovered in downtown St. John's 150 years ago. They turned out to be some of the oldest multicellular life on the planet. But the fossils have spent the past century in Ottawa. Now they're taking a trip back home, and here and now Zach Audi got a look.
Aspadilla occur here in St. John's. Like these fossils, the first fossils of Aspadilla found and named are from downtown St. John's, the corner of Prescott and Duckworth Street.
So these Aspadilla aren't only townies, they are downtownies?
They are downtownies, very in the heart of downtown. Hi, I'm Nathalie Jean-Chicard. I'm collection manager for the Natural History Collection here at the rooms. These are Aspadilla fossils that have come home from the Geological Survey of Canada in Ottawa. When we say fossils, we often think of dinosaurs, petrified bones and teeth of dinosaurs. These are different. They are actually impressions in the rock of the body of an ancient organism. Well, these fossils come from rocks that are dated to 500 million years old. This is the very, very beginning of multicellular life. The more recent thinking is that they may have looked a lot like modern sea anemones. These were first described in 1872 by a paleontologist in Ottawa. Elkanah Billings is his name. They were discovered by Alexander Murray, who was the first geologist of the Newfoundland Geological Survey. Him and some of other fossils enthusiasts in St. John's discovered them, figured out it was something special. They're the ones who sent them to Billings in Ottawa. Billings named them Aspadilla terranovica. So Aspadilla means round shield. So the round shield from Newfoundland. When a paleontologist names the fossils, they will designate a certain specimen as the example. Well, those are the ones that Billings in 1872 used to describe this new species. So that's already very special for me, and especially comes from a site that I walk by every day. You know, normally museum specimens are often spend a lot of time in a drawer until, you know, research circle around with a new question, and then they come back out in the limelight and teach us something new.
Well, a sports update for you now. Munn came up a little short last night in their bid to make it to the championship game of the AUS Women's Soccer Tournament. The Seahawks lost to the Dalhousie Tigers 1-0 last night in Wolfville. The 6th-seeded team fought hard to make it to the semifinals, but unfortunately didn't have quite enough to beat Dalhousie.
Take a look at this weekend forecast. Lots of teen temperatures, some single digits in there as well. I'll tell you all about it coming up. Well, tomorrow is Guy Fawkes or Bonfire Night.
Yes, and the province is encouraging people to go to community-sponsored events, but has a reminder for those staying close to home to make sure you're following the rules, and that's no burning plastic, tires, asphalt, or paint products, and no household garbage or treated wood.
That's right.
Yes, and I understand that it's going to be quite nice. At least in the daytime tomorrow, it's going to be really nice. I know that.
It is going to be a gorgeous day tomorrow. absolutely stunning Saturday. It will be a bit windy though, that's the only problem.
It's tricky for a fire.
It is.
Keep that in mind, I guess.
Yeah, definitely keep that in mind. But temperatures today, right across the border, starting that warm-up trend, the one that we're going to see through the weekend. Let's take a look at what was happening across eastern Canada today. See those 20s in Toronto and Ottawa, Montreal? We may see that temperature get close to that for parts of the province. But overall, temperatures at the moment are creeping into the teens. So Corner Brook, 14 degrees today, 12 in Lab City, and 11 in St. John's. The reason for that is where this area of low pressure is and that warm front, all that warm air in behind it, and you can start to see those temperature contours make their way towards the province as we head through the evening and overnight tonight. And if we take a look at the current temperatures right now, still sitting at about 2 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay, but as that warm air continues to advance further north and east, we will see those temperatures warm up. In fact, probably 10 degrees warmer than this by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Temperatures across the rest of the island and coastal areas of Labrador are sitting around 1 degree right now, 4 in St. Anthony and 4 in Twillingate. But again, those temperatures will be on the rise, and we can really see that through the day tomorrow. We start to get into some of those yellows, which means temperatures could reach the high teens tomorrow afternoon through central. But again, those wind barbs from the southwest, pretty dense at this point, so we will see some gusty winds through the afternoon. By the time we get into Sunday, a little cooler for coastal areas of Labrador. West Coast, your chance maybe to see those temperatures in the teens. And then into Wednesday, another push of mild air will, or rather Monday, another push of mild air will move in. And again, those temperatures could be reaching the high teens, so definitely going to keep an eye on that one. After that, though, temperatures will dip. Now, as far as winds go, like I said, a little bit windy tomorrow with those winds gusting between 50, maybe even 70 kilometers per hour, at least in the afternoon. And then as we head into Sunday, those winds should ease for most areas. Coastal areas of Labrador, particularly the southeast, may still see some gusty winds through the day. Taking a look at what's going on right now, just some cloud cover along with some showers moving across Labrador and some cloud cover across the island as well. Future tracker showing that quite nicely. We'll continue to do so, at least the showers moving through as we head through the overnight. Not a whole lot happening across the island tonight. Fairly quiet, just some clouds on the increase, maybe some fog patches along the south coast as well as some of that warmer air starts to advance further north. And then showers, the story for Labrador right into Saturday morning really, but your temperatures are going to drop for Lab West. And we're talking about the potential for some flurries for you. Taking a look at the overnight lows tonight, between 5 and 7 degrees. This is not far off from where we should be sitting daytime highs this time of year. For Happy Valley Goose Bay, your temperatures again are going to climb up to about 11 degrees. Nain, same thing, and then drop like a rock tomorrow afternoon. And Cartwright, you'll hover around the 5-degree mark. So we'll watch those showers for tomorrow for a good chunk of Labrador. Head towards southeastern Labrador, maybe even the northern peninsula. By the evening hours, you may see a few showers, but overall the clouds will just be on the increase across the island. Not much other than that, with some showers moving in by morning hours on Sunday. And then we start to talk about the potential for some freezing rain Sunday morning for Lab City. Now, as far as temperatures go tomorrow, again, 15, 16 degrees, breezy winds out of the southwest between 30 and 50 as you head towards central, 15, 60, maybe even a bit higher than that as well. And then similar temperatures for the west coast. Now, as far as the northern peninsula goes and even up into Labrador, your temperatures will be hovering into the teens, 14 degrees in Mary's Harbour, maybe even a bit warmer than that. And we could break a few records as well tomorrow afternoon. 12 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay, at least to start, temperatures will drop. And then for you in Lab City, Churchill Falls, eventually your temperatures will drop as those winds shift to more northwesterly. So that's a look at Saturday's forecast. Sunday looks pretty nice in some areas as well. We'll get into those details coming up.
A popular Celtic rock band is wrapping up an Atlantic Canadian tour this weekend with a big finale in St. John's. Rawlins Cross has been performing for 33 years. And besides touring this year, the group also released some new music. CBC Radio's Anthony Germain sat down with 2 members of the band right here in this studio.
Down on a bar stool, death of a lonely night. Can you believe it's been 33 years?
Yeah, seems longer.
More than 3 decades.
It's been a long time. You're looking at those early music videos. There's one early music video. The first one we did with was Colleen, and it was kind of a who's who of some of the actors involved in that.
Yes.
Rick Mercer.
Yeah, there's a younger versions. Yeah, my mom and dad are there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the usual stuff.
Yeah.
So you've been, this concert, you started off in Nova Scotia, you've been through the other maritime provinces, you're going to finish in St. John's. How's the tour been?
The tour has been great. Great crowds. The band is playing really well,
Yes.
if I do say so. You know, once
Completely objective.
Oh, absolutely, no bias there whatsoever.
Well, I guess one of the advantages of having the last show in St. John's is that you know, we've kind of hit our stride once again. It's
You've worked
this
out
is
all the bugs
9th.
by the time you get here.
Yeah. So the band is, band is playing well together, and yeah.
So you consider the success that the band has had over the 3 decades that we alluded to off the top of this interview. The Sunrise Tour, is the name of the album. How is that music different from earlier Rawlins Cross?
I don't know if it is that different. We have a couple of singles on there that you like. Love Is All Right, for instance. You're going to go, okay, that's Rawlins Cross.
Love is all right.
It's the same 6 guys in the band. Lead vocalist Joey Kitson since 1993. And you know, we're playing. It's the same instrumentation, so there is, you know, there's continuity there. But I think, you know, as Dave was saying, there's evolution in terms of writing and themes and whatever's going through, you know, the songwriter's mind at that time. So they're always going to be. It's not a mirror from one record to the next. So there's some new sounds.
So this is the first time you guys have been back together on stages since the pandemic started, more or less?
We did one show in the summertime. It was in the Anniversaries Highland Games in a beer tent with 1,500 people, where
It was great.
They sold out of beer that night.
Oh, one of the highlights of that particular show too was that the audience was quite young. So they packed the dance floor. They stayed with us all night, singing along and dancing along. That blew me away.
Last question for you. What kind of show are people in for Saturday night at Holy Heart Theatre? Is it all the new album?
No. You're going to see a good mix of the old stuff too. You will hear Colleen, you will hear Ship Comes In, you will hear Reel and Roll, and you will hear some of the stuff from the last 3 albums. You'll hear the instrumental stuff that we do, Memory Waltz, Wedding Gift, McPherson's Lament.
A lot to pick from.
Yeah. So we're trying to give them everything, and 2 singles from the album we'll be playing.
Now, I know a lot of people watching, because some of the younger viewers on Rawlins Cross, interesting, isn't that like an intersection? I want to ask you about the dark days when you were a roundabout. There's no thought of changing the band's name at that time.
Yeah, really. I know it came up one day. It keeps coming up on Facebook. You punch in Rawlins Cross and you get, Rawlins Cross. You get the big story. And so, well, we all lived in, the band started out in St. John's. Ian was living in St. John's. Howie, our drummer, lived in St. John's. So, it basically started in Newfoundland.
We once, there was once a dry cleaning establishment right at Rawlins Cross, and we rehearsed
upstairs
the floor, second or third floor of that building above it.
Murphy's Grocery was there then and all that.
It was a nice aroma, as I recall.
Yeah. Right.
Well, listen, welcome home, welcome back to Newfoundland, Ian.
Thanks,
and
great to be back.
Have a great show on Saturday night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks for having us.
Mr. Risley is a Liberal donor. He got special access meeting the Premier at his own resort.
Well, next, political scientist Kelly Bladuke gives us his insights on the latest government controversies and some of those spending announcements. Well, it's been a busy time in Newfoundland and Labrador politics, from a surprise projected surplus.
Yes, we're taking in more revenues this year.
Spending announcement after spending announcement.
This cost of living check gives everyone the flexibility to put some money where they need it most. A new, modern hospital.
And $40 million in recognition bonuses for NAPE members. Plus, there are the controversies. The opposition has been on the attack about a fishing trip the Premier took to a lodge owned by John Risley, who's proposing a massive wind-to-hydrogen energy project on the Port-au-Port Peninsula.
The people of the province want to see the receipts.
It's my time, my dime, and what I do with it, frankly, is my business. And I've taken the extra step of having ethical walls set up.
Premier was caught on a luxury fishing trip with his billionaire buddy, so the Liberals decided to announce a new hospital distracting from Premier's problems.
We wonder sometimes why people run for public service, why we don't get qualified people to run for public service.
I asked the Premier, was this where the deal was struck, or is this the biggest coincidence in Newfoundland and Labrador history?
So yes, lots going on right now, and joining me now to talk about his thoughts on the political landscape is MUN political scientist Kelly Bladuke. So Kelly, question period is often a place for political theatrics, but it seems there's been a lot more tension and drama than usual this session. What do you think is happening there?
I think that there's a reason why the opposition wants more transparency on things. I think that that's it's a common thing for them to be saying, but I think some of these things make sense. I guess one thing I'd say besides all that is, interestingly enough, that the opposition parties don't have actual leaders right now. They have interim leaders. And in fact, one of them sort of has an interim leader. I don't really know what the reasoning is for waiting this long. When opportunities like this come up, this is where you want to have a party leader. I'm not sure why the opposition parties are taking so long and why they're kind of leaving these things to people who can't really make a name for themselves, probably won't play a big role in the upcoming elections. It's not clear to me what they're doing, but I think the issues actually deserve a lot of attention.
We've been seeing some new spending. It's quite the turn of events from last year when all the talk was how the province was on the brink of insolvency. What do you make of these announcements lately?
Well, the province's position has changed a little bit financially, right? Price of oil. Some of these things it's not just, I wouldn't say that much of this is actually good policy or good governing. I think that, we don't control some of the things that sometimes put money in the government's coffers, but they have money. It makes sense that they would try to find ways to, use that, especially given the problems with inflation and so on. I think giving everybody $500 is actually really bad policy. I don't think that's a good means of distributing. I think you can look at needs-based policy, and that's not what this is. But yes, we're definitely in a better spot. The finances are there, and it makes sense the government would try to shine a little bit with that.
And we have seen some controversies. As I mentioned just yesterday, the health minister apologized for not looping in the privacy commissioner on that new legislation. Plus, we have the controversy around the Premier going to John Risley's fishing lodge, and we had the announcement of the new hospital. What are your thoughts on all of those happenings now?
Well, so you start with the issue of the fishing lodge, which I think is a pretty significant problem. There's been a lot of attention to the receipts. I think the receipts are actually a little bit of a distraction. You actually have a really clear set of facts here. Mr. Risley is a Liberal donor. He got special access meeting the Premier at his own resort, and then he had a favorable policy change happen almost immediately afterwards. To me, this isn't rocket surgery. That shouldn't happen. That's a toxic mess. That's something the Liberals promised to clean up 7 years ago, and it's a mess that they're bathing in rather than cleaning up. Something has to be done about the way that donations work in this province, and certainly if people are looking and saying, oh, well, donors get to just hang out with the Premier and then get what they want, that's the story there. To me, that's the primary problem, and that's the primary conflict. Then you have the issue of the receipts. That's important too. There should be some means of documenting whether or not this was some form of a gift to the Premier or whether it wasn't, and he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to answer questions about it.
He does say, my time, my dime.
He has said that. He's provided no evidence, and under these circumstances, he should provide evidence. I don't think that you can just take his word for the things that he says and say, that's absolutely what occurred. So provide some evidence. If he received some kind of a gift here, then to me that would be terminal in terms of his premiership. He should go to the length to just clarify for us that he's being honest about this.
The Premier has said that there is an ethics wall that has been put up, and that the Premier is not making any of these major decisions when it comes to the project, that it's falling to the Energy Minister to make those big decisions on what happens next with the wind to hydrogen project on the Port-au-Port Peninsula.
Sure. So, Like, I'm chair of the ethics board at Memorial University. I'd love to know what the ethical walls are. To me, this is a really vague term. I know how ethics work. I know how conflicts of interest work. These are the things we do. He hasn't really explained anything that's particularly clear here. For him to pass this off to somebody whose job depends on him is not a particularly good means of doing this. I could say that straight up, but otherwise, the term ethical walls is so vague, I can't really say anything to it. He hasn't explained what he's doing.
And when it comes to the replacement for St. Clair's Hospital, no details were given. It kind of came out of the blue, and the opposition was saying that they believe this is a tactic, a way to change the channel on this fishing lodge controversy. Meanwhile, the government says this has been a priority for them for a long time, that there was an incident where a piece of steel fell down from the hospital onto a walkway. They've been talking about this for a long time. It isn't out of the blue. What do you think about the opposition's argument there that they think this is just a strategy to change the channel?
You know, it might be. I mean, it came out of the blue. I'd give a certain amount of credit here. I think, like you say, this is something that we've kind of probably anticipated was coming at some point. The only thing I would say here, though, and this extends from the issue of changing policy because a donor asked for this, which we have with the, with the wind energy issue. We don't really know where this is coming from, and quite frankly, the government hasn't been able to point to the space or the policy recommendation or the expertise they had that said you should be focusing on this right now. You look at healthcare in this province, most people would describe it as being in a state of crisis or near crisis, and in those circumstances, I think you use your resources very carefully, and you use the people who are in place, who the experts are, you use them carefully. If you're choosing to shift some of those resources to creation of a new hospital, I think you should be able to say this is the precise reason why we're doing this right now as opposed to other things. Right now, the government hasn't done that.
Well, Kelly Bladuke, I really appreciate your thoughts on all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, tune in to Weekend AM this weekend on CBC Radio with host Heather Barrett. Heather will take you on a tour of the Sperm Whale Pavilion in Triton. Saturday is also Bonfire Night, and she'll check in with some towns hosting events.
Hi, I'm Adam Walsh, host and producer of Crosstalk. I'm in Gander for the Municipality's Newfoundland and Labrador Conference. As you can see behind me, folks are in there having a bite to eat. Before lunch started, we did a whole show and we asked this big question: what does the future of governance for municipalities look like in Newfoundland and Labrador? And it's a big question, and there was a lot to talk about. So take a look at some of the conversation from just a little while ago.
Listen to Mayor Button and all the things that they have to deal with now in terms of the future, right? Where are we going to put houses? Where are we going to put roads? How big do culverts have to be? All that kind of stuff. We've been saying for so long, and this is such a perfect example of it, that most of our members, most municipalities don't have the technical capacity to deal with these issues, these planning issues and these technical engineering issues. And it's one of the reasons why we keep talking about regionalization. And it could be regional government, it could be something else. But it's becoming more and more apparent that we used to think about climate change. We used to have sessions here on climate change that were always very about the future, right? In 10 years, we're going to have to be ready for this. And that's not the case anymore. It's on us. It's not coming anymore. It's happening to us right now. And our ability to plan for it needs to catch up with that, right? Our ability to give municipalities the tools needs to catch up. And, if there was only one reason to do regionalization, that's probably a good enough reason. Like, we need municipalities to be able to respond to this kind of thing with the proper tools.
Tell us about the reality of what your community is facing right now for Mainbrook.
Well, our town has an aging population. We've got roughly 230 people. About 80% of the population is above the age of 70. Gives us about 40 people under the age of 70.
40 people under the age of 70.
Roughly.
80% are above the age of?
Above the age of 70.
Above the age of 70.
So we have an aging population, we have a declining population. Our school has 20 kids in it, K to 12. What we really need is some more industry in the area to bring in more people, more families, to rejuvenate our community. I mean, Mainbrook has been incorporated for 73 years. We were a logging community for a long time, and of course we had the fishery. That's long gone. Our plant hasn't really operated the last couple of years, and our sawmill hasn't really operated this year. We have a small sawmill in town. We've got people that are not working. We need more jobs.
That's the biggest thing happening in our community right now is the regionalization of recreation. Very excited to be here. First time for myself and Councillor Wilcott to be here. First time on council. Learned a lot of stuff. Very excited this morning when we heard about regional economic development. Because if you look at regionalization in our province and in Newfoundland and Labrador, it's huge. To tell you the truth, it's huge because we don't have an economic development officer. Most communities don't have the budget for any of that. We're very fortunate in Lab West that we do have a healthy budget. Okay, but we still need to grow. We live in a cyclical mining company that for years, if the market went down, we had nothing else. People had to leave the area. So nobody will invest in Labrador West. Nobody will invest in development. Nobody will invest in putting properties there. Seniors housing, senior building. Nobody's going to invest if we don't develop and grow. So knowing that we're going to regionalize that is huge.
I'm very proud of my community. I've lived all over Canada, and I think coming back here has been a really eye-opener for what we need to do to move forward. Accessibility, I'm you, John. I was in a car accident and I ended up getting major damage done to myself. So we really focus on our seniors, our youth, anyone that has any issues physically, accessibility. It is amazing. Our biggest population of volunteers are our seniors, and we have an amazing amount of volunteers for such small communities. When we did our playground, we did a walking ring around it so that seniors had a flat surface to walk on. Makes a huge difference when you have an aging population. But we also are very fortunate. A lot of people came home, so you got younger people wanting to see improvements in the community for themselves and their families.
The Emergencies Act public inquiry heard testimony from more protest leaders today. Convoy organizer Tamara Leach was asked about comments she made on one of the biggest concerns of Ottawa residents during the weeks-long protest, diesel fumes from constantly idling trucks and blaring horns.
I believe I said it was music to my ears. That was within a couple of days of getting there, and there was a lot of excitement and It was a very jovial atmosphere.
Leach also claimed she couldn't hear the horns from her downtown Ottawa hotel room. She's currently out on bail on charges of mischief, obstructing police, counseling others to commit mischief, and intimidation. They were laid in connection to her role in last winter's protest turned occupation against COVID-19 restrictions and the Trudeau government. Statistics Canada says the economy gained 108,000 jobs in October. Now, this is more than expected, and it reverses the losses seen in recent months. The increase happened in a range of sectors led by manufacturing, construction, accommodation, and food services. The new data stands in contrast to forecasts of a looming recession. Still, a survey for the report showed 1/3 of Canadians are finding it difficult meeting financial needs. And while wages increased for a fifth month, raises were less likely for lower income Canadians. World leaders are gathering in Egypt this weekend for COP27. They'll address how they're living up to their commitments to limit global warming. In Britain, King Charles hosted a climate reception for about 200 global leaders, decision makers, and representatives from NGOs at Buckingham Palace. They included British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, as well as the U.S. Special Envoy for Climate, John Kerry. King Charles is a long-standing environmentalist, but he will not be attending COP27. He was advised to stay away by the previous government under Liz Truss. Prime Minister Sunak has not reversed her decision. A spokesperson says there isn't enough time now to coordinate the King's trip. Let's find out who's celebrating. Happy 52nd anniversary to Marjorie and Patrick Brown of Dunnville. Congratulations to Aubrey and Dorothy Woodman of New Harbour, who are celebrating 60 years of marriage. Wishing Eunice and Luke Lawrence of McIvers a happy 58th anniversary. Happy anniversary to Daniel and Frances Taylor. They're marking 55 years together. It's a 60th anniversary for Mary and Dennis Coffin of Mount Pearl. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Frank and Ann Byrne of Kilbride. Jack and Mary Fury of Gander, now living in Lower Sackville, are celebrating 60 years of marriage. David and Gloria Bennett of Bell Island, now living in Paradise, are celebrating their 55th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to Donald and Marie Smith of Dildo. It's their 55th wedding anniversary. Happy 54th anniversary to Eldred and Tita Normore of Lansaloo. Congratulations to Frank and Tish Trowbridge of Arnold's Cove on their 55th anniversary. Happy 60th anniversary to Cavell and Harold Bryant of St. John's. Happy anniversary to Clem and Myrtle Golding of Gander, now living in Ontario. They're marking 60 years together. Anniversary greetings going out to Gerald and Beatrice Studley of Bellorum. It's their 54th today. Congratulations to Max and Marion Turner of Grand Falls, Windsor, now living in Paradise. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary. Wishing Hayward and Lily Yetman a happy 55th anniversary from all your grandchildren. Happy 68th anniversary to Marguerite and Thomas Loader. They're from Buckins and now live in St. John's. Happy 56th anniversary to Oliver and Bertha Greening of Clarenville. Anniversary greetings going out to Nettie and Reg Kendall of Morrisville, who are celebrating 64 years together. Now to some birthdays. Happy 90th birthday today to Nita Decker, who lives in Bay Verte. Robert Gullidge in Kelligrews will be celebrating his 91st birthday tomorrow. Birthday greetings going out to Edna Coles, who's celebrating her 94th birthday in Flowers Cove. Happy 91st birthday to Anna Windsor of Aquafort. Wishing 80 Piercy of Garden Cove a happy 90th birthday. Happy 90th birthday also to Cecil Dix of Grand Bank. Birthday wishes going out to World War II veteran John Pinhorn in Carbonear. He's a member of the 166th Royal Artillery of Winterton, and he just turned 101. Happy birthday. And congratulations once again, another fine crowd this week. So gonna look at the long range forecast. We're heading into the weekend.
We are.
And it's gonna get real dark real quick after Sunday.
It is, yeah. Sunday morning, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the clocks are going back. And that means that the sunsets are significantly earlier than they have been. Let's take a look at, this is for St. John's sunrise sunset times. So by Sunday morning, 6:52 is when the sun will rise and then set at 4:36. And these numbers are just gonna get lower and lower, or I should say earlier and earlier, until we head to the winter solstice, which is December 21st. And that means by then we will have 8 hours and 26 minutes of daylight. And at the moment, we're currently losing just about 3 minutes daily. So the good thing is that after that, the sunset times will start to increase, which is good news. For Lab City Wabash, you're looking at 7:30 in the morning for Sunday for the sun rising and setting at 4:47. And then again, by the time we get to December 21st, you're looking at 7 hours and 34 minutes, and you're losing nearly 4 minutes a day. But again, we're looking on the upside. Temperatures this weekend, particularly on Sunday, are not going to feel like November 6th, that's for sure. We'll see some warmer air move right back in for those of you across Lab West. However, the risk of some freezing rain to start the day on Sunday, and then it'll continue to track towards the coast as we get into the afternoon hours. Not much happening across the island either as far as those temperatures go. We'll likely see some more warmer air move in again between 13 and 15 degrees for those of you on the west coast, southwest coast, and then a little bit cooler the further east you go, so about 8 or 9 degrees through the Sunday. But then the long range forecast again on Monday back into the teens. 16 degrees for St. John's. We may see some temperatures a bit warmer than this through central, but it does look a bit unsettled for the most part. And again, some showers and or flurries possible for those of you in the west. Taking a look at the long range forecast, after Monday, temperatures will dip right back down. It'll be a bit windy on Tuesday as well. Then we're talking about the potential for some flurries on Wednesday with those temperatures around 3 degrees, overnight lows around 0. And then for central Newfoundland, rain right up until Tuesday essentially, and then Wednesday it looks pretty chilly, around 2 degrees, overnight lows dipping into the minus single digits. And then for western Newfoundland, windy for you again on Tuesday as well, and can't rule out the chance of flurries right through to Wednesday. Now as far as Labrador goes, roller coaster for you again, up and down. You'll eventually settle around 0 degrees for Wednesday, and then for western Labrador, Monday looks windy at this point. Again, by Tuesday, temperatures will go right back down, hovering within a couple of degrees of 0 right through Wednesday, with that potential for some flurries in the mix as well. We could even see some accumulating snow with this, but overnight lows are going to dip into the mid-minus single digits. Take a look at this great shot. Looks like the trees are on fire, but some vivid fall colors in Nora's arm. Della shared this great shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Pretty soon the leaves will be gone.
Yes, and at 16 degrees, it's a pretty good weekend to clean those up again.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. A few chores this weekend. Clean up the leaves and change the batteries and the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detectors. So I'll be doing that, I think.
Absolutely.
That's it for us. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.